Looking for a fast-charging, ultra-responsive stylus for your iPad? Meet the 2X Fast Charge Active Stylus Pen, designed for 2018 to 2025 Apple iPads. Take your creativity and productivity to the next level. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
The latest trade news from the Trump administration has sent shockwaves through the tech industry, and Amazon is right at the center of it all. The e-commerce giant's shares plummeted after President Trump announced massive tariffs on imported goods, including those made in China, a country that accounts for a significant portion of Amazon's business. To understand how these new rules might affect Amazon, let's look at some of its biggest competitors and see who comes out on top. Apple, for example, has been hedging its bets by investing heavily in new factories outside of China, but now all those investments are at risk. One analysis estimates that iPhone prices could increase by as much as 30–40% due to the tariffs. Meanwhile, Tesla is another company that's closely tied to China. Around 20% of its revenue comes from there, and many of its components are made in Chinese factories. The implications for Tesla are significant, but Amazon might actually benefit from this situation in a way that hurts its competitors. Now, you may be wondering how tariffs could have such a huge impact on prices across the board. It's all about supply chains and the fact that most of Amazon's products are sold by third-party merchants based in China. When Trump ended the de minimis exemption policy, which allowed companies to ship cheap goods directly to American customers without tariffs, it created a new reality for sellers like Shein and Temu. These Chinese e-commerce companies benefited from this policy, selling ultra-cheap products on platforms like Amazon, but now they're facing much higher costs. Meanwhile, Amazon's last-minute bid for TikTok could involve some sort of broader negotiation with China, which might further complicate its situation. So what does this mean for Amazon? On one hand, the tariffs are likely to bring prices on Amazon's platforms more in line with those of its competitors. But on the other hand, Amazon's business is massively dependent on relationships with Chinese businesses, a fact that tech and e-commerce analyst Juozas Kazuyukinas points out. In other words, if you think about it, Amazon has become so reliant on cheap Chinese goods that its prices are now driven up when those costs increase. This is bad news for any retailer, painful for customers. But in the long term, this could actually help Amazon without substantially affecting its relationship with China. It's a bit of a paradox, but essentially, as prices rise across the board, people will still be buying on Amazon because it offers fast shipping and convenient services. And that means the country's dominant e-commerce firm will tighten its grip on retail. You might end up paying the same price for a Temutir Hoshoff spatula on Amazon that you would for an OXO one. So, who loses out in this situation? Well, it's not just small retailers or discount stores, it's shoppers themselves. Prices are going to rise across the board with little to show for it in terms of quality or value, and that's where Amazon comes in.